Hello, Mrs. Hudson. Yes, when will Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson be back? Mm-hmm. I see. All right, well, just leave my name and have them call me when they come in. Thank you. Something about a red-headed league or something. Hello, Sherlock Holmes fans, and welcome back again. My good friend MovieTRAMP and I decided it was about time we did a video together, and we thought what better thing to do than to review the Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce Sherlock Holmes movies. So today we have mini reviews of the first 7 of the 14 Sherlock Holmes movies for you, along with our thoughts on the series overall, and of course some of those later films do indeed get a mention. Please comment your favorite Sherlock Holmes movies below, Basil Rathbone or otherwise. Make sure to check out MovieTRAMP's channel, which I will link below, and I hope you enjoy it. Just for the record though, MovieTRAMP was having a few issues with his devices and his internet and stuff, so please be patient with any little glitches or errors you might see there. They couldn't be helped. But I do hope you enjoy our commentaries, and if you're a big fan of Sherlock Holmes as I am, I hope you get a lot out of today's video. So check out his channel and enjoy the show. Thank you very much.
When did you come across this film series first? What part of your life did you come across it?
So I've always been into Sherlock Holmes, and I read a lot of the short stories as a kid. I had a book very similar to this one. This isn't the same one, but always really liked him. Always enjoyed reading him. And I know you're a big fan of Jeremy Brett, so it was my best friend. So we watched a ton of his. And just as a big fan of the 1930s and 40s and movies, I was probably in my teens when I started watching Basil Rathbone as Sherlock Holmes, or subject of today. How about you?
So
What,
what channel was that? Was that on?
probably
Was that on an American station, or was it like a BBC thing? Where did you? What channel did you see it on? Or
so
was that PBS or something like that?
probably Turner Classic Movies in the US, but honestly,
Oh,
I bought this set, I think right around the time I started being a teacher. I had a few odds and ends before that because some of the films are in the public domain. So, they're very easy to find them kind of anywhere. So I had sets like these that had, 4 or 5 of them. And then, of course, going back later and kind of getting the whole collection, which is now in one handy volume, both in the US and the UK and probably elsewhere in the world. So, how about you? Your thoughts on Basil Rathbone as Sherlock Holmes and the series as a whole?
well, I mean, I've always loved this season. I think the first time I saw it would have been the early 80s when I was about 12, 13, that kind of age. And it used to be on BBC Two at 6 p.m. And I always remember I would only see the classic intro with them walking through the foggy streets
Oh,
and that, and you
yeah.
get that classic music,
Hmm.
which always got me kind of. I was up for watching the movie then, it's got that mysterious kind of intro. But because my supper was always at 6 p.m., I would only see the first 5 minutes of it. And then I would get drawn away to my supper, which is really infuriating, Um, at that time, we didn't, you couldn't get VHS copies of it. I think it was, But yeah, that was my first introduction, and I kind of liked that kind of spooky old films then, which is a bit odd for somebody that age, I guess. Nowadays, people not interested in it. And it's kind of a forgotten about series, really. I think in most people's eyes, although
Yeah.
he's down as one of the iconic Holmes. Basil Rathbone,
Yeah.
maybe not Nigel Bruce.
Maybe not. He was
Nigel Bruce doesn't get so much, not doesn't get so much love. Which,
too
but I'm a
much of a
defender of
fool.
Bruce. I'm a defender of Bruce. I don't know about
I love
you.
him too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Nigel Bruce, and because there are a couple movies in here where he gets a chance to be really smart and do really cool stuff, and other ones where he's a complete fool the whole time. And then some movies they put him
Yeah.
in both boxes. But you're right when you say I think the Basil Rathbone series has kind of been overshadowed because we've had so many Sherlock Holmeses, since and even before for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of think ones that these aren't especially loyal to the original stories per se. They kind of adapt
No.
pieces and parts, here and there. Some are combinations of multiple stories. And of course, something we'll have to talk about in this video, World War II, changing all these into anti-Nazi movies and that, those kind of
Yeah.
things. Excuse me. So, yeah, but want to begin at the beginning?
Yeah. The Hound of the Baskervilles. Yeah.
Yep,
The
Hound of the
classic.
Baskervilles. Probably the most adapted Sherlock Holmes story, I would say, or certainly very, very close, if not the first one. But thoughts on Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce's debut film?
Yeah, I think well, I think both films are beautiful. The Fox films, they're really they're like feature length, films, and they spent a lot of money on them, obviously,
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, with the sets and everything. The sets in the Hound of the Baskervilles is gorgeous. The mirror and everything, and the Baskerville Hall and all that is great. You know what I mean? But as with all the adaptations of the Hound of the Baskervilles, Holmes is not on screen very much for
That's
the first
true.
half of the
And correct me if
movie,
I'm
which
wrong,
is kind of a big negative for me.
I don't even think he gets top
Sorry.
billing. I think it's Richard Green as Sir Henry Baskerville actually gets like
No, he
top
doesn't
billing.
know.
Yeah. So it's weird. And
Yeah,
I
he
will
went
say
on to be
Basil.
Robin Hood of it.
Yeah, that's true. Robin Hood, Robin Hood.
Kind
Yeah, so it's
of.
weird to see him so young
But
in
I
this
think
movie.
I think he's great. I think the first two films, although I don't really watch them often, I don't gravitate so much towards the Fox films. I still would say they're technically brilliantly made, and they're really really nice films. Cinematic films and that. Um, the only thing about it is, I actually think that Basil Rathbone in the first film, he's a little bit kind of in his shell a wee bit. He plays him very conservative. When you go to the Universal films, it's like he kind of lets loose and just he's comfortable playing the part. I don't know if that was the studio telling him to kind of play it a certain way, or was he just kind of finding his feet, like you obviously would be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's more kind of uh, like kind of he's probably more like the literary Holmes, really. But he is quite aloof and quite precise and cold in it, which I don't like his performance as much as when he goes to Universal, but I couldn't criticize his performance. It's perfect. I mean, he's great, but I don't I don't warm to his performance as I do in the Universal films.
It-
I think in the Universal films, uh, the two Fox films, they're so grand that Holmes and Watson are just like two kind of pieces of the puzzle. In the Universal films, they are the whole deal. The
yeah,
camera is on them all the time. Whereas with the
absolutely.
two Fox films, they're just characters in many characters. They're not the central focus of the film so much. I don't think. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Plus you
The
figure,
actual grand
you
scale
know,
of the grand scale of the movie. What do
different
you think?
directors, different studio, different kind of procedure too. It
Yeah,
reminds me of actually some of the Holmes film series that came before it, the Arthur Waltner films, like Silver Blaze and that kind of stuff, where Holmes is more stoic and all that kind of stuff. Basil Rathbone's going, I think, more in that direction. Plus, like you said, he's still finding his footing. Interestingly enough, a
yeah,
lot of Hound of the Baskervilles was reworked for a film I see behind you, and is also in this set, The Scarlet Claw. That was to me kind of like Universal's take on that, using some of the same things, phosphorus paint and a mysterious kind of swampy setting,
yeah.
things like
They
that.
kind of a lot of nods to it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and
definitely
then kind of
true.
redoing it in a more colorful, more over the top kind of way instead of this more serious, restrained,
Yes, yes.
story there. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that.
But it's a great
But
movie. I mean, it is a great movie. There's no doubt about that.
yeah, absolutely. I enjoyed it a lot. I hadn't watched it in a long time. Like I said, very young Richard Green in there, John Carradine popping up. Always a lot of fun to see him. Yeah, absolutely. But and then we have its follow-up, 1939, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Here, actually, double packed with the Scarlet Claw, but we'll look at this side. So, any thoughts on that? We have
I
George
like that.
Zuko as
Yeah,
Moriarty.
yeah. I watched that the other night, so it's fresh in my mind. Again, a beautifully made film, um, and it's very cleverly plotted. It's really great and all that. It's great. And but and Ida Lupino, I didn't know she went on to become quite a famous director, didn't she? Ida Lupino.
Yep,
She
yep. She
plays the
directed Twilight
lead
Zone episode, all
actress in
kinds
that.
of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. She's great in it. I think she's really powerful in the part. She really puts that kind of fear across on screen and that. It's very kind of creepy. With the music and all that, and the man with the clipped foot and I can't pronounce the name, that weapon that he throws, the bolus.
Yep, there
The
you
bolus.
go.
It's a great movie. I would say one criticism I would have is I find Holmes at the end, he is kind of a little bit slow in his detecting what's going on. I mean, he does two major boo-boos. I mean, he's supposed to be watching Ida Lupino like a hawk, you know, when he dresses up. But I love when he does the song and dance number, you know, when he does that thing there.
You wouldn't think it was him either. He's really good in
No,
that.
he's great.
By the
He's
seaside
amazing.
kind of music hall. Yeah, no, I like
But
that.
he's there to be watching her like a hawk, and then all of a sudden he disappears, and she comes out into the foggy garden, and he's nowhere to be seen.
No, there you go.
When she's in peril, you know. And then he comes around the corner with his cape and everything. I was thinking, where did he have his cape and everything in a bag?
Maybe he was in the bushes or something. He had to reach in and grab it. I don't know.
And at the end, he kind of when he's trying to figure out what's going on, like what's Moriarty kind of doing, you know, like why is he at the Tower of London? What could he be wanting there? And I was thinking, come off it. This guy's supposed to be as sharp as a knife, you know.
There you go.
And then they go back to Moriarty's kind of lair, and then he looks in a book, and then he dawns on him. And I was thinking, come on, you didn't even have to go back to Moriarty's, you know, house. You could figure that out in 2 seconds flat, you know.
But I guess you figure all that Star of Delhi stuff in there, kind of throwing him off.
Yeah,
you know? I don't know.
That he was a little bit too slow for my liking, but it's a beautiful you know, production. It really is. It's a beautiful film, and it flies by. It's kind of, you know, it's quite a longish movie by their standards, and it just flies by. It's really engrossing. Great performance by Zuko. It's like George Zuko. He's great in it.
My favorite part of that movie. He's the best Moriarty that went up against Basil Rathbone. I think he's my favorite of them all. But he's quite creepy,
isn't he?
Yeah,
he's quite creepy working with the orchids and everything. And the way he treats his butler, he's quite terrifying. You know what I mean?
There you go. He even gets a chance
I wouldn't want to be his butler.
I wouldn't either, but I like that he gets a chance to banter with Holmes too at the beginning. You know, Moriarty, your brain should be on display in the museum. Yes, it'd be a very interesting exhibit, wouldn't it? You know, that kind of thing. I like that stuff. And Zuko does that really well. Yeah, no, I got a big kick out of that. So, the first two, of course, are period pieces in Victorian or Edwardian England. But then we shift gears and we go to World War II. What are your thoughts on moving things out of the 1890s or 1900s to the 1940s? Because next one up is The Voice of Terror.
Yeah, I don't have a problem like shifting forward in time in that sense, but I don't particularly like the wartime films, I have to say. I'm not really a big fan of them, the propaganda ones, you know. Not for that sake. It's just that they're not particularly interesting or exciting. They're quite bland, some of them. I think I prefer the first one, The Voice of Terror, is probably one of my least in the whole series, I would say, least favorites.
That is my least.
It's quite bland.
Yep.
There's some good moments in it, but and the other thing is that they've put Basil in with that kind of coiford, I don't know, is it Pompadour hairstyle they call it or something? It's got that hit, and it's just terrible.
I know he starts wearing hats like these and stops wearing his deerstalker. I do remember that, but yeah, you're right. I mean, right. It's you got to update him, I guess. You know, you see Sherlock Holmes driving and everything. It's like, oh, geez, okay, fine, we'll roll with that.
I think he actually gets he gets criticized by somebody for actually smoking cigarettes. But I was reading a Holmes story the other day, and he was actually smoking cigarettes, Holmes, in the actual stories. So I don't know why they were getting that.
Because in the stories, he's an expert on ashes. Yeah. So I don't know.
That's right.
Yeah. So.
And everything.
Everything. Oh, that's true.
He seems to be an expert in everything, but in particular ashes. Yeah.
So. So we have for
the I honestly don't remember a huge deal. I remember Thomas Gomez is in it, and I like Thomas Gomez a lot from Key Largo, and many other films. But he's a great actor. But I thought what they were doing here was they had that. They actually took a topical thing with the was it Lord Haw they were calling him or something, the guy from Germany.
Germany calling.
That's it, on Germany calling, yeah. and they were using that in the plot, which was quite clever at the time, I guess, I mean, it would be hidden an air with the public and that, it'd be,
Yeah.
they'd be interested in that. Not so much obviously today, but at the time it would have been very topical, wouldn't it?
Exactly. And
The plot.
the voice of terror in the film is voiced by Edgar Barrier, seen here playing a Nazi in A Game of Death. And so it's really cool to hear him. And there's all this stock footage from like some of the Universal monster movies, like the train wreck from The Invisible Man is in there, and the dam explosion from
All
Frankenstein
right, I
Meets the
didn't know that.
Wolfman. It takes me out of it a little bit. It's kind of strange to see all that stuff here, but yeah, you mentioned Thomas Gomez. I think Voice of Terror was his film debut, certainly one of his very first, and he's really good in it.
All right.
But he feels like he's from a completely different movie. Like he's this Nazi, this American Nazi working in London, and he's sociopathic and all that stuff. It's really weird. It doesn't quite fit with the rest of the film, I think. A little bit off the cuff there. I don't know. And of course, we have Evelyn Ankers randomly popping up here and there. Can't make up her mind if she's British or not.
But yeah, it's watchable. It is watchable. They're always watchable. All these films, I love all these films. I would never trash any of them in that sense, because I do like watching the two lead characters so much that what goes on around them is not so important sometimes. But it's not a great movie. It isn't a great movie.
No, it
isn't. This was the only, I think, Roy William Neill. Did he not? Was it the next film that he picked up the reins and the directing reins? Was it Roy William Neill, the director? But he directed.
Yeah, he directed almost all of them. If not the next one, it was the one after. I know it was right around here. Yeah, because
the one after. You're right. Yeah,
that was kind of his. I'm not sure exactly, but yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're right. But yeah, I think they carried on with that kind of thing with the Nazi spy things, and they did it for the first kind of 3 movies, really. Not so much the third one, but it is kind of similar plotting. Certainly the first 2, but yeah, they're kind of forgettable, I would say.
Yeah, definitely not amazing. Next one up, of course, Sherlock Holmes and the Secret Weapon with Lionel Atwill as Moriarty. He does pretty good. I don't like him as much as George Zucco. And we have, in this case, though, Voice of Terror is an adaptation of His Last Bow, which I don't remember very much from the Sherlock Holmes stories. It's one I've read only once. But the next one is an adaptation of The Dancing Men, which is, I think, much more famous. And I know was covered by Jeremy Brett in his series, too, but they update it for a World War II setting. So actually, I kind of like that in the Secret Weapon one. I think that's pretty cool.
Secret Weapon's a better movie. Yeah, it's a better movie.
Yeah, it's not great, but
it's good stuff in it.
Yeah, it does. And then the third of those, but the third one would be Sherlock Holmes in Washington, where we have George Zucco back again as a different guy. That one I like some of like the mystery angles of. I don't know if it works quite as a whole, but so any thoughts on Sherlock Holmes going to Washington?
Sherlock Holmes in Washington is quite interesting. Kind of incidental, really. They don't play it up that angle that much, really. You know what I mean? There's a couple of scenes at the beginning with Watson kind of trying out bubble gum, and he's got his American slang phrase book, and he's kind of
what's cooking, buddy,
that and things, yeah. But they don't really play it up that much. You've got a few stock footage kind of scenes of them going around Washington D.C. looking at the sites and that, and then they kind of forget about it. And you wouldn't know it is in America. It could be in England, anywhere. After that first 10-15 minutes, it's kind of they just get on the plot, and it could be anywhere really. So it doesn't play that much of a part really in the story. But it's quite an interesting film for a few reasons. There's a few good moments in it. I didn't like the beginning of it because you've got like 8 minutes of like a preamble scene that really they could tell in like 30 seconds, and they have this long-winded setup scene about what happens to the spy with a microphone. We should explain the plot. I suppose. Holmes is trying to find a British spy that goes missing with a very important document on a microphone, and is Moriarty's after it to sell to the Germans or something? Is that right? I'm forgetting that.
Heinrich Hinckel is after him. Yeah.
I am
Basically,
thinking. So that'd be
Moriarty
right.
with
Yeah,
different
but
names.
he is a kind of a Nazi. He's kind of a Nazi, isn't he? Really, or a
Yep,
sympathizer or
absolutely.
something. Yeah.
Disguised as a very prominent Washington, D.C. antique stealer and stuff. And I like the fact that they're not told it's microfilm at the beginning. They're looking for, legal size paper documents. And it was the
That's right. That's
courier.
right.
Yeah, the British
That's right.
courier who had it transferred and then concealed. And so a lot of the movie is figuring out what, tiny space holds this secret microfilm. I like that. And they do a good job with Holmes kind of puzzling that out. But you're right. I
Yeah.
mean, we have this whole big setup where this courier is in disguise as a legal agent, and he's talking to all these different people on a train and on an airplane, and that could have been 30 seconds. Holmes, a British courier, is missing.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Because they're not in the film for the first, I don't know, 7 or 8 minutes. I mean, it takes forever to get going, But then, of course, is it Alfred Pettigrew or whatever he's called, the spy
That's
that goes
it.
missing? It's quite funny because Sherlock Holmes, Basil Rathbone says he recognizes the name and he goes, "Oh yeah, great man. I've worked with him a number of times." I'm thinking, how would you be working with because the British the British Commissioner guy is going, "Oh, he's an unimportant kind of employee in the office or something like that." And I'm thinking, how's Holmes going to be working with him so often? I don't know, but it's not bad for him, but. There's a few interesting points. There's a good scene where the microphone is being passed around at the reception. It's like it's a wedding reception, isn't there, or something, or a pre-wedding reception.
The engagement party,
engagement party, yeah. Where the leading lady and the leading man are she's got this microphone on her, unbeknown to her, isn't she, in a box of matches, in a wee sliver of matches. She doesn't know, and it gets passed around. It's quite a clever scene, that scene.
It is, yeah. And the fact that the villain gets it doesn't even know.
Yeah, and it goes full circle and comes back to, quite interestingly, the actual actress and the two leading actors and actress, they were both actually married in real life.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And they've got a very famous actress daughter. They're the parents of Anne Archer.
Oh, okay. I know Anne Archer.
Yeah, Anne Archer.
She was in Fatal Attraction.
Yeah, but there's a few good moments in it, but there's not many. You were saying about the dancing men thing, the connection with the dancing men.
Yeah.
That was with them. Was that in this film? Yeah, you were.
That was in The Secret Weapon, the one right before.
The Secret Weapon, yeah. I don't know what film this. If they take any inspiration from any other films in this one or not, I'm not sure. From any of the other stories. No.
There are. I can't think of it offhand if there are.
I don't think so. No. What's your take on this one?
So I like it. I think everything you said is completely accurate. There's a lot of build up to it. It kind of is slow in places. It could have been set anywhere else in the world. The fact it's in Washington is just a wartime thing. But this is the last of the in Washington, I should say, is the last of the true blue World War II, propaganda, patriotic kind of pieces. We shift gears and go to an adaptation of the Musgrave Ritual. Sherlock Holmes faces death. What do you think about that one? Sherlock in a spooky house trying to solve this riddle. You remember that one at all?
That's one of my favorite films, actually. One of my top 5 films, I would say.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's a great. I listened to a BBC radio play of the Musgrave Ritual recently, a few nights back, and they're very atmospheric. And I was trying to link the film and the story in my head, And there are a couple of links, not many, but there are a couple of links with it. I think you've got the butler, obviously, Brunton.
Yep.
I can't remember if that's the same name as in the story or not. And you've got the
actual
tomb. It is, yeah. And you've got the tomb. You've got the tomb where the actual treasure is. In the actual story, it's I think it's the crown jewels of the King of England or something that's been buried or something.
That.
And in this one, it's a land grant. But there's a few connections to it. But I love this film. I think it's great. It's very atmospheric, and you've got a lot of great characters as well. I like how you've got the kind of the convalescent home aspect mixed in with the with the family. It always makes me laugh because they're such an unpleasant family. I was thinking, I don't believe they were going to
Well, two of the three end up
Nice,
dead, so.
all these patients, they don't seem very kind of generous or kind. I really like this one. It's a very good film, this one.
It
I
is.
like how he kind of figures out the kind of the riddle as well, the Musgrave riddle, the Musgrave ritual, how he kind of
Yeah.
tries and figures it out. And um, some really good special effects. I love the lightning scene where they have the scene with the saying of the Musgrave ritual, where I can't remember the actress's name that plays
Hillary
the
Brooke.
leading lady. Hilary Brooke, yeah.
Yeah.
She's great in it.
She
And
is. Yeah.
where the lightning comes through and strikes the coat of
Suit of
armor, and
armor
I
blows
love
up.
that scene.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah.
It's very dramatic, but it works. I will say a couple minor criticisms in this. I think it's too easy to figure out who the villain is, because he does a lot of very obvious things. You think Sherlock Holmes would have picked up on it earlier, like during the scene where they're playing human chess, that kind of stuff. It's kind of easy. But I do like the ending, though. The ending twist kind of feels like Columbo. It's figuring out how he's going to he knows who did it. He just has to kind of make him confess to it, which is a little bit different for a Sherlock Holmes story, I think. It's not the only one to do that, but that stuck out to me too when I last watched it. And of course, the riddle for the
Yeah.
Musgraves is totally different in the film than it is in the original book here. But yeah, definitely a
Yeah. But
right.
yeah, very enjoyable film. Very enjoyable. One of my top five, I would say, definitely.
And then I think my number one is the next film chronologically, Sherlock Holmes and the Spider Woman. I was very impressed by this one. Much different, I think, than any of the others. And this is the halfway point for the series as well. So this might be the last one we cover today. We'll have to keep an eye on our time. But Gail Sondergaard, first Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress, plays a diabolical woman who maybe she has mind control powers or something similar. She's barely involved in these suicides and the beneficiary for all these wealthy men's insurance policies. Talk to me, Sherlock Holmes and the Spider Woman. What do you think?
Yeah, I like this film. I haven't seen it for a long time, and I don't. It's not really fresh in my mind, but I do remember the some scenes of it with the spiders and that. I do remember the
Yeah.
spider connection, and there's a great scene where Holmes kind of. I think they rent a flat or a house or something to set up to try and to see how they're actually doing this, how they're actually causing the suicides and that. And he's actually lying in the bed and that. You see the spider coming in and everything, and it's a great scene.
Yeah.
I think Lestrade is outside. Sort of supposedly guarding. I don't know what he's guarding, but the spider comes in. But I like this film a lot. Yeah, it's got some really good kind of atmospheric moments in it. But
It
I
does.
don't particularly remember the plot. Was refresh my memory with the plot again with this one. This is
So
the was it an insurance scam kind of thing? Were they
sort of. So the Spider Woman dates or is involved with these wealthy men. They make her they make her the insurance beneficiary, and she has them killed with a spider who has a human accomplice that Holmes isn't expecting. And then so she collects a lot of money. So they're called the pajama suicides because they all take place at night. The spider bites these men, drives them insane, so they kill themselves, and then she collects that kind of thing. And she has some accomplices in there too. Actor Alec Craig pops up, this little tiny Scottish guy with the big glasses. He has some really fun scenes bouncing off Basil Rathbone, that kind of thing. But
that's right.
this does have my favorite Nigel Bruce as Watson scene, where Holmes looking at a skeleton and Watson keeps correcting him on like the skeleton's proportions and how old the body is, that kind of thing. One of the few times I think they really used him well and kind of grounding Sherlock Holmes. I like that a lot too. I think that works. And of course, we have a big finale at an amusement park, and Sherlock Holmes is tied up behind the shooting targets, that kind of thing. So I don't think it's based on a story directly, but it takes elements of the Speckled Band and a couple other things and kind of molds them all together. I really liked it. I was very impressed by it. I just watched it the other day, and I forgot how good it was.
Is this the one where yes, it is. Where they put they actually they take a link from the Devil's Foot, and they actually the wee boy puts the sweetie wrapper in the
Yeah.
fire, and that's from the Devil's Foot, isn't it? Yeah,
Yep.
the story of
It
the
is.
Devil's
Yeah.
Foot.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah, it's got some really good moments in it. What do you make of the actual finale? I thought it was a little bit disappointing. it should be tense. It should be, when he's tied up and he's going to get shot. But never, I don't think it ever comes across. The threat level doesn't come across so much. I don't know. It doesn't really work
Well,
as well as it should have. It's a good idea, but they don't pull it off quite. I don't.
it is rushed, and that's true of a lot of these, especially the later ones. Like the ending is as quick as can be, it's wrapping up. And it's weird that every time Sherlock Holmes barely misses being killed, it's because of like an accident. Like, Watson forgets to reload his target rifle, or they hear something, everyone looks away and they look back so they miss him. That's true. It doesn't do much to build suspense if it's constantly an accident. But I like the idea of it, I think, and it's a very unique setting for Sherlock Holmes too, I think too. So I kind of gave it a pass on those grounds.
It's definitely one of the top films, I would say. They kind of go into a section in the middle section where they hit a hot streak. I think it's like 5 films. I would say that are really really up the ante. After the first three or four films, then they really hit a sweet spot for about 5 films, and
Yep.
then after that, I think the series starts getting a wee bit kind of tired, and they start kind of coming to the inevitable end of the series. There's one or two. I think that Terror by Night, the train film, a lot of people don't like that film. I rate that quite highly, but it's only like one of the last 4 that really isn't kind of showing the series. The series is getting a bit tired by that stage, but that one is
Yeah.
quite good. But this middle section is really some really good films in it.
It is, and
And
those
that's one
last
of them.
couple too. The last couple were just repeating stuff. We have 2 different adaptations of the Six Napoleons, that kind of stuff. You could tell they were running out of ideas and just kind of rehashing things. Plus Basil Rathbone, you can tell by the end, getting a
Yeah.
little bit bored with it, being right all the time, I guess. Just, yeah, probably not a whole lot he could
Yeah.
do with it.
But it's quite funny because I was reading somewhere, I can't remember what it was, like, I don't know if you watching the time or whatever. I won't kind of waffle on too much, but
We got a couple minutes. You're good.
He was actually in 1939. He actually took this role on so he wouldn't be typecast in all the kind of the swashbuckling kind of villain roles he was doing, which is kind of ironic because by the end of this, he was totally typecast as Sherlock Holmes. So it didn't
You're
work
not
out for him.
wrong.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was stuck in all
But
those Errol Flynn movies, the Seahawk and all that
yeah,
stuff. He was in Zorro, yeah, but always the bad guy. So it was good to see him play the hero. And I mean, after
yeah,
this, he got out of that a little bit, but
he did. Yeah, but I mean, he's always going to probably be remembered for this role. But it's amazing. I was reading that he was when in 1939, like he was only like the 23rd or 24th person to play Sherlock Holmes on film or something like that. Even by that, and what was it, 1920? Was it 29 or something? The talkies came in. That
yeah,
was only like a decade or something after the. So they had done 100 film. They had done 100 films in Sherlock Holmes before he started in 1939 already.
yeah,
So
that's pretty
the
cool.
character's been kind of in films so much. It's incredible.
But
Like
since the early 1900s, I think even William Gillette was,
you've probably seen.
yeah,
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of the early ones. You obviously kind of you're
yeah,
really
some
into
of them,
older films and stuff.
yeah. So
But you know a lot more than I do. But I mean,
some of them haven't been seen since the silent
so you
era, so they're lost to
no,
time,
no,
so who
that's true.
knows? Alrighty. Well, hey, we got through
So
half of them.
what? Yeah, so a lot of the I think a lot of the my favorite ones we've touched on some of them, but I mean most of them are probably in the second half. I would say I'm not sure. Yeah, I would say most of my favorite ones probably come up. My favorite ones will probably be the Scarlet Claw
Okay, I like that one.
and the House of the House of Fear probably is they will be in my top kind of
Yeah,
top 3 or 4, I would say. Yeah.
yeah, good pick.
But they're all good in their own way. It's just
Oh
yeah,
yeah, all 14 are very watchable. Even the ones that like Voice of Terror that aren't
yeah,
great, there's still stuff to like. It's not there aren't any that are completely terrible by any means. So, well, would you like to in 2026 discuss the back half, the Scarlet Claw through Dress to Kill? Can that be a future
yeah,
gift for
sure,
our
yeah,
viewers?
Can do.
Alrighty. All right, so we got about a minute left. Anything to
Yeah,
say to our
no problem.
watchers at home?
Well, no, thanks for putting up with us. Well, me anyway. They're used to
You're
watching me,
fine.
but um, no, no. Yeah, I just like I love kind of watching them. So I don't get a chance so often to talk because nobody I know really is interested in them. You know, so it's quite good to talk to somebody that's equally interested in the series. You know about it because most of the people I talk with are into Lord of the Rings or some sort of fantasy stuff or something. You know, most of my
Oh.
friends are, so not particularly into the older stuff. But
Yeah,
well,
tell them. Elementary, my dear Watson. Purely elementary.
yeah, you got it in there.
Had to do it at least once.